Hello everyone. Now we'll be starting the third part of our unit 2, which will be covering the second and third principle of farm management. So we'll be starting them and I'll let you know what are they all about. So the second principle of farm management is principle of substitution between inputs, or we can also call it as law of input substitution. What does it tell us and why do we study it? It tells us how should we proceed in terms of production. How should we decide how to produce? Okay, we'll get to know about it now. This is also called as law of factor substitution, as I just told you, and tells us how to produce. Here we look for, so let's say we have two factors, we have labor and we have a tractor. Okay, capital tractor is also called as a capital. We have two factors, is one is labor, one is capital. And for understanding what is capital, what I mean when I'm saying capital, I mean a tractor. Okay. We look for possibilities of substituting two factors, that is labor and capital. We are trying to find out which combination of these two is the cheapest to produce a given quantity of output. Okay, we have to produce a certain fixed quantity of output using these two factors, and the combination we'll be using is the cheapest one. Okay, we have to produce a given output at minimum cost. Our motive here is cost minimization. All right, and for this purpose we need two diagrammatic concepts. One is isoquant and one is isocost line. What do we mean by isoquant? What is isoquant map, and what is its slope called? What is an isoquant? Isoquant is just simply, let's say, units of labor and units of hours available of a tractor. If we plot different combinations of these two on a two let's say 2D plane, then we'll be getting a convex curve which is called as isoquant. Okay, when we plot all possible combinations of two factors that give an equal level of output on an xy axis plane, what we get is an isoquant. So this graph shows all possible combinations of two factors which will be producing, let's say, 20 quintals of wheat. So you can use this much of tractor, let's say 50 hours of tractors and 10 hours of labor. You can use 40 hours of tractors and 20 hours of labor and other combination, but all of them will be producing only 20 quintals of wheat. So isoquant, I think you can get it now. All possible combinations of two factors that give an equal output. All right. What is isoquant map? Just let's say we are talking about one level of output. Here it was 20 quintal. Let's say we try to produce 30 quintals of wheat. Let's say we try to produce 40 quintals of wheat. So if this combination, let's say 20 hours of machine labor and 20 hours of manual labor can produce 20 quintals. Okay, there are many other combinations also. 30 quintal will be produced by, let's say, 25 hours of tractors and 25 hours of labor. 40 quintals can be produced by, let's say, 30 hours of labor and 30 hours of tractor labor. Okay, tractor power. So isoquant map represents many isoquants with higher and higher level of output. One isoquant represents one output level. Okay, higher isoquant represents higher output level. If we go much higher, we'll be needing more inputs to produce more output. So higher isoquant means we are talking about higher output level, means we will be using more and more inputs. Okay, so it represents all possible combinations of inputs, labor and capital, and their corresponding output. If you use more input, you'll get more output. You will be talking about a higher isoquant. Okay, what is the slope of an isoquant? Slope generally means at this point, what is the slope? Just draw a line like this, draw a tangent to it, and then this height divided by this length. Okay, let's say OA by OB. Slope is OA by OB. Alright. But as you see, if we draw different lines at different points on this graph, at this point the slope was this OA by OB. At this point the slope is OA dash by, let's say, OB dash. OA dash by OB dash, and we can see that this value is higher than this value. Okay, because the numerator is larger and denominator is smaller. The numerator has reduced here and the denominator has increased here. So that's why we can see that if we move from left to right, the slope is reducing. Okay, that's simple. So the slope of isoquant is called as marginal rate of technical substitution, or you can call it as MRTS. Alright, MRTS between X and Y. This subscript is very important. How do we write the subscript? This X, oh sorry, I think you should write it as L and K. First input that will be coming should be on the x-axis, and this input should be on the y-axis. How do we define this MRTS? It's very simple. As we move from left to right on the isoquant, from here to here, okay, MRTS is that quantity of capital or machine labor that is required to be given up to gain one more unit of labor, okay, so as to keep the output level same. So just understand from this point, let's say we are moving from A to B. These are the quantity of labor and this is the quantity of capital. Let's say it is 50, it is 40, it is 32, it is 26, and this is 23. Okay, so at this point the points are 1 comma 50, that is, and from A to B, if you try to move from left to right on the same isoquant, alright, so if you are trying to move from A to B, this becomes 2 comma 40. How much units of capital, that is machine labor, we have given up from moving A to B? Delta K is 10 and delta L is 1. So if we move from A to B, MRTS is 10, and if we move from B to C, MRTS will be 40 minus 32, 8. If we move from C to D, it will be from 32 to 26, 6, and if we move from D to E, it will be 26 to 23, 3. So you can see marginal rate of technical substitution between labor and capital is reducing as we move from left to right, is reducing. Alright, and what is it? It is units of replaced factor divided by units of added factor. Factor means input. Okay, so if we are moving from A to B, how much units have been replaced of capital? 10 units have been replaced. And how many units of X labor has been added? Only 1 unit has been added. Alright, this is how you define marginal rate of technical substitution. It's simple. This combination can produce 20 quintals of wheat. Okay, and this combination can also produce 20 quintals of wheat. Okay, if we are moving from this to this, we are reducing machine use and we are increasing labor use. So alright, so by how much should we reduce the machine use for increasing the labor use by 1 unit and keeping the output at the same level? This is MRTS, all about MRTS. Okay, so now let's move on to its properties. There are some properties of that graph isoquant I told you. We'll discuss about them. That graph is essentially downward sloping. This was the shape of isoquant, and this is the shape of isoquant, because if we want to keep the output level same and move from this to this, we'll be reducing the quantity of K and increasing the quantity of L. Just remember, keep the output, we have to keep the output level same. One isoquant means same output. But let's say if the ISO point is of this shape, can it be of this shape? It cannot be, because labor quantity is fixed, let's say 5 hours, at this point 10 hours. If we move to this point with the same labor and more machine labor, we cannot be ending up with the same level of output. The output level is going to increase if we move further and further. So this cannot be the shape of isocont. Similarly, same capital quantity, same hours of machines are fixed, but the labor quantity is increasing. So output is naturally output will naturally increase. So this can also not be the shape of isocont. Remember, for an isocont, the output level should be same. Here, the quantity of in both the inputs is increasing if this is the shape of isocont. So it naturally cannot be, because more input means more output. So what we end up with is a convex shaped isocont, convex to origin. Alright. Higher isocont means higher output, because the use of inputs increases, the output increases. Okay, lower isocont means lower output. Two isoconts cannot be intersecting. Why? Let's say these are 3 points A, B and C. As we can see that A equals to C in terms of output level, okay, and B equals to C in terms of output level. So should by the property of transitivity, A should be equal to B, but it is not equal, because the quantity of labor is more in B than A. So if the quantity of labor is more, naturally the output should be more when the other input is equal. So it cannot be intersecting at all. Alright. Marginal rate of technical substitution is decreasing in nature, and therefore it is convex to origin. The reason for this is a little complex for this course, but just remember, as I have explained in the earlier graph, as we move from this point to this point to this point to this point, the slope of isocont, that is the marginal rate of technical substitution, is reducing in nature, diminishing in nature. Okay. Next comes ISO cost line, the second concept that is needed to find out how to produce. This is an ISO. ISO means same cost. Let's just read the definition first. This line shows all possible combination of two inputs, that is labor and capital, that farmer can buy with a given budget. All the farmers have a limited budget, okay, and he has to buy different combinations of two inputs. So within his given budget, he can buy all these combinations, okay, of labor and capital. So a line that is going to join all these points is called as ISO cost line. That means any of the combinations out of these costs the farmer same. Okay. So OA quantity, let's say he spends his entire budget on labor. So how much quantity of labor can he buy? He can buy total budget divided by the per unit price of labor. And similarly, if he spends all the money on machine labor, he can buy OB quantity, which is equal to total budget divided by per unit price of capital labor. Okay. So the slope of this line should be OA by OB. But let's say we can also call it as OA can be written as M by PL and OB can be written as M by PK. M cancels out and it becomes the ratio of prices of labor and capital. Okay, that's simple. Ratio of prices of inputs, you can also say. Let's say, what do we if the prices of labor changes, if the budget changes, how is the budget line going to behave? How is the ISO cost line going to behave? If the budget with the farmer increases, he can buy more and more of capital and labor, so the ISO cost line will shift upwards. Okay, budget increase होगा तो budget line will shift to the right or upwards, If the budget reduces, he can buy less of inputs, so it will shift parallelly to the original one towards the left. Okay, budget increase to upwards, budget decrease downwards, but parallelly to the original ones because their prices of inputs are not changing. Let's see if the price of any of the input changes. Let's say the price of labor changes. Price of labor has reduced. That's so earlier he was buying M by PL, but the price has reduced now, so he can buy more quantity of labor. So the budget line, ISO cost line will move from that axis to right. Okay, if the price of labor increases, he can buy, his total budget can buy less of labor units, so the can say the ISO cost line will move towards the left from that axis only because the price of this has not changed at all. Okay, so we have talked about the movements. Now let's now see how it tells us how much to produce, how to produce. So, as a rational farmer, that is a farmer who makes informed decisions, the best possible decisions, a farmer who tries to maximize profit, how he should decide based on these two concepts. Let's see diagrammatically, then we'll see algebraically. Diagrammatically, he has to produce a given level of output at minimum cost, that is least cost possible. So this is the isoquant showing different combinations of labor and capital that can produce a given level of output. Okay, let's say we have to produce 10 quintals of wheat, and we can produce them at A, B and C, all these 3 points. Okay, and these are the ISO cost lines based on different budgets. The budget here is less, more and more. That means for producing A, let's say the budget here is 1000, 2000 and 3000 on this but ISO cost line. For producing A, that means 10 quintals of wheat, the farmer will have to spend 3000 rupees. For producing B, he'll have to spend 2000 rupees. For producing C, he'll have to spend 3000 rupees. Okay, this 10 quintal cannot be produced with 1000 rupees because the ISO quant does not fall on this line. Okay, we just, what we did is we just superimposed, we just put together the ISO quant and the ISO cost line on a same graph, then this is what we get. So out of these three combination, which combination should a farmer should go for? Naturally this one. All right, because 2000 rupees is the least possible budget with which it can successfully produce 10 quintals of wheat. Okay, it cannot produce 10 quintals of wheat. It cannot produce 10 quintals of wheat at, let's say, wait a second, this is giving me a problem now. Uh, this 10 quintals of wheat can be produced at the least cost of rupees 2000, and 10 quintals cannot be produced by 1999 rupees because the ISO quant does not fall on that ISO cost line. Alright, so when the ISO cost line is tangent to the ISO quant, that is the point which will show us the least cost combination. That is the cheapest, that it will tell us the least amount of money with which we can produce our desired level of output. If you see it mathematically now, tangent means slope of isoquant will be equal to the slope of iso cost line. Slope of isoquant means marginal rate of technical substitution between labor and capital because labor is on the x-axis, and slope of iso cost line means okay, I think I have made a boo boo here. PL by PK it will be. So it should be equal, and it can be written in this way: delta K by delta L should be equal to the price of labor by price of capital. So this is how we get to know how should we produce a given level of output at minimum cost. Okay, so naturally this law tells us how should to produce a given level of output at minimum cost. So the third one, and it is quite similar to this one we have just studied. It was principle of substitution between inputs. It is principle of substitution between outputs, also called as law of product substitution. It tells us what to produce, what quantity of output, two combinations of goods should we produce with our given level of resources to maximize our revenue. Okay, now we try to substitute different combinations of two products. Let's say we have two products, y1 and y2. All right, let's say it's an area of wheat and let's say rapeseed and mustard. How much of area should be allotted? Let's say we have a fixed budget of 20,000 rupees to buy inputs. All right, so with this fixed budget of buying inputs, how much of input of rapeseed and mustard we should buy, how much area of, no, with a fixed quantity of inputs, how much area of rapeseed and mustard should we cultivate and how much area of wheat should we cultivate, so that we get maximum revenue, that means maximum money by sale of the output. All right, so this is our entire question. uh, with a fixed input quantity, or can say fixed budget to buy those inputs, all right, we have to choose that combination of outputs y1 and y2, that is wheat and rapeseed and mustard, that will give us maximum revenue. Okay, our motive here is maximum money, to get maximum money, revenue maximization. And for this purpose we will be needing, again, just like an ISO-quant, we'll be needing a PPC, that is production possibility curve, and just like in ISO cost line, we'll be needing a ISO revenue line. Now let's understand what these two things are. PPC, that is production possibility curve. This is a curve that shows all combinations of wheat and rapeseed and mustard that can be cultivated with the given amount of input, or let's say with the given budget for the inputs. Given quantity or budget means the same. This is a curve that shows all possible combination of two products, y1 and y2, that can be produced with a given quantity of inputs. It's concave in shape. Why is it concave in shape? It's not part of your course. We will be studying it later on in the coming years. What is the slope of this PPC curve? PPC map will be simply, let's say, if your quantity available of inputs with you increases, you can produce more and more quantity of y1 and y2. So this will be PPC map. Higher PPC means higher level of input use. Higher PPC means higher quantity of input available with the farmer. Understood? Now what is the slope of this production possibility curve? Slope of PPC means marginal rate of product substitution. Earlier it was marginal rate of technical substitution. Okay, technical means we are talking about inputs. Product substitution means we are talking about products or outputs, y1 and y2. All right. Again, I have made a mistake here. Y1 and y2. Y1, the output that is on the x-axis. Y2, that is on the y-axis. Okay. So how do we define MRPS? As we move from left to right, similar to the earlier one on the PPC, it is that quantity of Y2, let's say rapeseed and mustard, it is that quantity of rapeseed and mustard that is to be reduced so as to increase the output of Y1 by 1 unit. Okay, so it's simple. Let's see, if we are moving from A to B, B to C. If we are moving from A to B, we are going from, it will be written as 110, 29, 37, okay, and 44. So this is how it is going to be written as. So MRPS for y1 and y2 is change in y2 divided by change in y1. Change in y2 is from 10 to 9, it is 1 divided by 1. All right, from B to C, if we derive from B to C, delta Y is going to be 9 to 7, that means 2 divided by 1. If we go from C to D, 7 minus 4, it is going to be 3 divided by 1. As you can see, MRPS is increasing in nature as we move from left to right on the PPC. Okay, why is it so? We'll be talking about these things later on, so you just no need to worry about this thing. So this can also be written as units of replaced product divided by units of added product. Okay, as you can see, this has been increasing in nature. That means if we try to increase the output of wheat, okay, we'll have to give up more and more quantity of rapeseed and mustard. This is what it means. The properties of production possibility curve, again MRPS, here it is increasing. I have just told you in the earlier graph. Higher PPC means higher input use, because more input means more output. These are non-intersecting in nature, as I have just told you in the earlier slide about the isoquant, that A, B, C, A equals to C, B equals to C, but A is not equal to B because the output level of Y2 is not same in A and B. Alright, so input level can also not be same. That's simple. So here the property of transitivity is not followed. So essentially PPC is always non-intersecting. It is always of this shape. They will never intersect with each other. ISO revenue line, same. ISO means same revenue. All possible combinations of two output of wheat and rapeseed and mustard that are going to give the farmer an equal revenue. Okay, this is ISO revenue line. Equal revenue, here we are talking about R. If we dedicate the entire input to the rapeseed and mustard and its price is PY2, so how much is, let's say, the how much is going to be this quantity? OB is going to be R divided by PY2. Alright, and OA is going to be R divided by PY1. So the slope for this is again PY1 by PY2. Alright, this means I have missed a point here. Let's say if we dedicate all our input, whatever we have, in producing wheat only, that is Y1 only. Okay, so how much the quantity will be producing is, quantity will be equal to OA. That means revenue, total revenue we have got, divided by price of the wheat. So this much is the quantity we will be producing. Alright, next comes the decision criteria. How do we decide where to stop? Okay, which combination should we choose? What we have to do is, remember, we have to produce one combination of Y1 and Y2 that is going to give us maximum revenue. The only condition we have is we have fixed resources. Okay, the diagrammatic solution for this is, again, let's say there are three combinations. These three combinations can be produced with, which are going to give us a different revenue. This is going to give us 10,000 rupees, this is going to give us 15,000, and this revenue line means all the combinations on this line gives us 20,000 rupees. Okay, so which combination should we produce with the given level of inputs? Remember, only the combinations which are falling on this PPC can be produced. Only the combinations falling on this one can be produced. So we go for A, B or C? We should naturally go for B because it is going to give us 15,000 rupees of revenue, and given the situation, 15,000 is the maximum revenue. Alright, so when will this situation come? When the slope of PPC will be equal to slope of ISO revenue line. And when is this going to be equal? It is going to be equal mathematically. It means MRPS between Y1 and PS. Y1 Y2 should be equal to price ratio of outputs. MRPS of Y1 Y2 means delta Y1 change delta Y2 by delta Y1 should be equal to PY1 by PY2. Alright. So this is all about the second law. Now we'll be comparing both of them side by side so you get a more clear picture. This is how we decide how much to let's say what to produce, what combination of goods should we produce with our given budget so as to get maximum revenue. All right, now let's compare both of these. Law of factor substitution and law of product substitution. All right, use what's the use here? We have to produce a given output at a minimum cost in law of factor substitution, and in product substitution, just as we have discussed, we have to produce an output combination that is going to give us maximum revenue. Okay, here the budget is given. Okay, here the quantity of input is given. All right, uh, tells us how to produce to minimize cost, that is the objective. This law will tell us what combination should we produce to maximize revenue. Alright, what is required? ISO quant and ISO cost line is required. Here PPC and ISO revenue line is required. The curve is called as ISO quant, which shows all possible combinations of inputs which give same level of output. Alright, and PPC will show different combination of output that can be produced with fixed quantity of given input. Okay, slope MRPS. What's the definition? Units of capital that needs to be replaced for adding one more unit of labor, and in case of product, units of output that need Y2 that needs to be replaced for to add one more unit of Y1 output. Okay, slope is decreasing in nature and this one here is increasing in nature. Line is called as ISO cost line. Here it is called as ISO revenue line. ISO means same cost. All combinations of two products that are going to cost equally. Okay. ISO revenue, all combinations of all combinations of two inputs that are going to cost equally. Okay. All combinations of two products that are going to give equal revenue. Okay. So when do we reach our objective? Simple. Slopes should be equal. Here the slope of ISO quant should be equal to slope of ISO cost line, that is MRTS should be equal to PL by PK, and it will be at a point when these two things are tangent. Okay, here the slope of PPC, that is MRPS, should be equal to the slope of ISO revenue line, that is equal to PY1 divided by PY2. Alright, which will happen when PPC is tangent to the ISO revenue line. Algebraically stating, MRPS will be written as delta K by delta L is equal to PL by PK. Here it will be stated as delta Y2 by delta Y1 is equal to PY1 by PY2. So these are the two laws which should have been learned in contrast with each other because they are more or less similar. Okay, that's why I have shown you this comparison slide. Just remember, law of factor substitution tells us about producing a given level of output at minimum cost. Law of product substitution tells us we have fixed quantities of inputs available, so we have to produce, let's say we have fixed money available, we have to produce out of different combinations of product, which one should we choose to get maximum revenue. So this will be all for the part third of unit 2. I'll be coming up with the more can say upcoming principles in the next lecture. Thank you very much.